What's up, bosses? Welcome to About Her Business, the podcast where we leave all the gossip at the door and get straight down to business. I'm your host, Jonte, and today we have actress, advocate, producer, and executive director of MiraLA LLC, Miss Arianna Lameless. Miss Lameless is no stranger to big rooms, holding the title of Miss Colorado USA 2023. She's turned her public exposure into a powerhouse, and she's here today to help us direct or what she means business. So, ladies, grab your cups and your notepads and let's get down to it. The meanest now in session. Welcome, Miss Lanes.
Oh, that introduction. Hello. I feel like I was coming out ready to fight.
Welcome. Are you ready to get into it?
I am ready to get into it. Ladies, pull out your phone, the notes, because I am just speaking truth today. I love to be an inspiration to my community. And thank you so much, Jonte, for this opportunity to speak to your community, for them to know more about my story and the reason why I started MíraLA, also pronounced MiraLA.
Yes. And you guys, I thank Ariana for using the correct pronunciation because she gave me some grace with the title of the business. So let's get to it. Now, as I said, you hold the title of actress, producer, founder, and executive director. Which one of these titles feels most personal to you right now and why?
I would say executive director. I've been in the industry for over 10 years now, and I started as an actress who really didn't see enough women representation on set, as well as women of color, and specifically to my community, Latinas in the industry. I decided to produce my own short film in 2022, and that's when I started my nonprofit film festival, the MíraLA Film Festival, promoting women of color filmmakers. And we just celebrated our fourth annual event in downtown Los Angeles. And it was an event that really allowed me to bring on a host and five different moderators. So I actually got to be the founder, the executive director, engaging with my community, speaking with them instead of running around trying to do all the things. I'm really a leader and I really want to inspire young girls to see me and know that this is what a leader looks like.
Oh, I love that. And thank you for being a representation because I feel like it takes courage to step out there and especially when you're a part of the minority and we as minorities know a lot of these spaces aren't made for us. So we have to make them for ourselves. Speaking of which, when it comes to your community and you being in film and pageantry, what shaped your understanding of representation early on?
Competing in pageantry, it was very evident that I was speaking for minorities, on behalf of the Latina perspective. I'm a Latina who is educated, who is first gen, that understands the complexity of what it means to be quote unquote different than what is portrayed in media and the types of people in certain hierarchy positions. And I believe that because of the pageant experience exposing me that I am a woman that is preparing to be on a stage to present what it means to be a queen or encompass queen energy. And she is someone that speaks eloquently. She is someone that walks the walk and can also speak in a way where you capture the audience, of course, through your exterior beauty, but really what internally is coming out when you are speaking to the community and you are speaking about social, economical, political issues. Of course, being a young woman competing in this type of field, I really consider pageantry to be a sport. It tested me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I did compete in Miss USA for 7 years. And I believe the statistic is that it is less likely for your daughter to compete at Miss USA than it is for your son to compete in the NFL. So I say this to say that I am competing with the elite of the elite, right? And also, other women competing, their families are financially, investing into these girls' future. So it's just a different kind of energy that you're around. It's a beautiful, captivating energy. And that experience for me from 18 to 26 really changed how I see myself and how I can show up for my community with or without a title.
Absolutely. And I thank you for breaking that down to our audience because from the outside looking in, we always think that pageants are about beautiful women that boost their egos, when in reality, it's about community, it's about service, it's about gaining more awareness and putting yourself out there. So thank you for breaking that down to our audience that is more than just a beauty show.
What I would say, if you judge anything in life, be sure to be open to a different perspective because I like to think that people who judge anything outside of them are judging a piece of themselves, right? So whether you're a woman that is judging other women who do pageants, or you're a man judging women who do pageants, I think allowing open dialogue between things that are different from you can actually give you a different perspective to self reflect and understand that both opinions can exist, but there's also different spectrums, how you see other communities, right? But you can't be completely shut off and be like, your opinion and my perspective is right, because there is no right or wrong, right? It's just being able to be not as judgmental to other people because you wouldn't want people to judge you.
Absolutely. And y'all heard it from the boss herself. Open up your minds because I'm telling you, a lot of the industries that we think is ego based are not. They're definitely mission driven, purpose driven, you name it. So now, and speaking of pageants, you currently hold the title of Miss Colorado USA 2023. Shifted for you internally during that year.
So I had been competing, like I mentioned, in Miss USA for 7 years. Born and raised Cali girl. I competed at Miss California. I believe I got top maybe 2 times. And then I moved to Nevada, and then I competed for Miss Nevada. I didn't place at all. So you can imagine, wait, what? Like, I did
Yeah.
so well in California. What happened? So then moved to Colorado. And I always like to say that I had originally moved there for partnership, and that partner didn't work out, but it worked out for me.
Right.
And people come into your life for a reason, and I look back at that relationship and I have a lot of gratitude because I did grow from it, and I grew into the woman that I am today. So, I have no remorse or regret about anything in my life. I've really come to peace with it. It's taken time, but I really am proud to have represented Colorado just because there are not a lot of Latina title holders that come through. So that felt very near and dear to my heart. I also got to connect with various organizations in California, Nevada, and Colorado. And I competed in Colorado twice. The first year in 2022, I got first runner up. And that was just like a taste of what could almost be. And I got really clear about what the goal was. And the goal was to be Miss Colorado 2023. This was the year. I made it, stamped it, the vision. I was all in. And yeah, I became very intentional about what I wanted to accomplish, and I did after 7 years.
And this is one of the things that I admire about you is you didn't let those losses stop you from what you knew that you wanted. You just kept going, even if it took moving to another state to get it. You literally was on a mission to represent yourself and your community. And speaking of which, what does confidence look like for you before the crown, and what does it look like now after the crown?
Yeah. So a lot of the confidence leading up to the crown was fake confidence, right? I had to really teach myself how to be confident, what that looks like, how are other women confident. And I think like we all put on this mask of what we think a confident person is, and or like you try on a hat and you're like, "Oh no, that doesn't feel good." So then you like or sunglasses, whatever metaphor speaks to you really. And I think that's what confidence is. It's like whatever you try on and that works for a while and then you realize actually that's not my truth, that other person's truth. But I think really becoming real and honest about who you are unapologetically, not being defined by where you come from and the communities that you come from, but allowing it to be a part of your story. But I really believe that we all have a purpose in this life, and it's just a matter of how much you want to invest in that purpose or invest in other people's purpose. But ultimately, true success is being very in love with yourself, being in love with your life, being in love with what you do. I think that is the most successful person. I don't think there's no amount of money or material thing that could ever mean more than just loving and accepting who you are.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And loving on yourself and building your current empire. So let's get into it, y'all, because we
Mhm.
got to cover in our very short time with Miss Arianna. Now you created, and we're just gonna go down the line, y'all. MiraLA LLC, and then you created MiraLA Podcast. And you guys, I'm jacking up the name, so I'm gonna let Miss Ariana correct me. What app were you trying to fill when you launched these platforms?
Yeah, no, you're good. MíraLA, it all encompasses the same energy of looking at her, looking at these women, looking at their accomplishments. And that's really what I wanted to do with my production company, which is charging for my services as a consultant or a producer, just being able to add value to any of the projects. And I don't need to do that through my social security number. I can do that through my business EIN number, right? And these are things that I had to learn becoming an entrepreneur. This isn't something I went to school for. I also want to reiterate, I am not a college graduate. Not that it like a plug or anything that makes me feel more than the other person right next to me. It's just the truth. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that same experience that instead of going to school to be taught their business, they let the school of life teach them their business. It's maybe the term is the school of hard knocks. I have always been a type of person that has been stubborn in the sense where I do things my way. And if I mess up, then I mess up my way. I am the oldest and I wear a lot of firsts in my life, being the first daughter, the first granddaughter, the first niece. And it's funny too, because in my life, people around me experience things for the first time. So I love that energy of first. I also noticed in the podcast space specifically that there wasn't a lot of Latina podcasters. And I was like, that's crazy. I love talking. Like when I first started in the industry, I started to do YouTube, but that felt a little too of that fake confidence that I was talking about or egotistical. And I tried that hat and I didn't really like it. And even with social media, I still struggle with that just because of the pageant experience and my negative experience with the pageant stuff was like just having to schedule posts even on the days when I did not look like the photos I was posting, and I don't know, it just felt very inauthentic to me. So I do still struggle with my own relationship of like how I show up on social media in terms of my photos and videos. But all this to say, it's just I am running MíraLA at my own speed, my own pace. And I just want to be able to support projects through my company and produce projects and podcasts like my woman empowerment podcast, creating jobs for women is a big mission under MíraLA. And yeah, I really want to be like that go-to person when people think, hey, we need to hire more women. Hey, we need to bring on someone that has a lot of education around this topic. And that's the goal for MíraLA.
Books can teach you some things, but life teaches you everything. And those experiences
Mhm.
go through, it literally shapes who we become. So I'm definitely in alignment with everything you just said. And y'all, we finna now move over to something else that makes Ariana a powerhouse. She has created an entire film festival that's just recently held on March the 21st in Beverly Hills. What did that moment mean for you?
Oh, man. So I know off the cuff when people hear that, like, I started a film festival, they're like, "Wait, what? How?" So again, the pageant, I was a part of a pageant production company that allowed me to see what it meant to bring an event together, and also being a production assistant on commercials, and specifically being an office production assistant on commercials, what it encompasses to bring people together, vendors together, put on events, scheduling. I did that in a volunteer level and a competitive level, and I also did that in a education work type environment. So I brought those 2 experience skills together, and doing the festival just felt so purposeful driven. It really feels like this is what I meant to do, and I was going to have the 4th annual film festival in Beverly Hills, and unfortunately, I did not because of the lack of accountability, just maybe not paying attention to detail from the owner. I don't understand, like, that why my event wasn't treated like other events that maybe happened at this theater in Beverly Hills. I will say that through back and forth conversation, I don't wanna get into the details because he did refund me my money, but I will say that I did walk away from working with that theater feeling like I don't think that they really support women and they support my community, and I had to pivot. I had to find a venue in a week, and that was extremely stressful.
Wow. And I'm sorry you went through it.
Yeah, so I didn't give up. My team wanted to postpone it, they wanted to reschedule, but I knew that the integrity of the event, people had given me their money, that I wasn't going to move the energy. I just had to find a way to make sure that my vision, this event, the films by these women are seen. That is the whole point of this film festival. It's for women to be seen and heard. And when the previous owner didn't understand that it's March, it's Women's Month, these are women of color. A lot of the time, we have experiences like this where we're not seen, we're not valued, we're not appreciated. And this is why you need to give me my money back so I can go find a venue that will do that. And I did. And I didn't give up even when the people around me told me to.
It happens often, especially when it comes down to women events and women of color events even. It's just no excuse, honestly, for it. But again, thank you for creating a space centered around women of color, especially in film. Let's talk about the stories that what stories are still being not funded or distributed that, in your opinion, need more attention?
I don't understand why there is such a pushback when it comes to people of color stories, when we know that they are so rich in culture, in truth, in authenticity, and to try to just not even invest in that is just stupid. I just think as an investor, like, why wouldn't you want to see more of this? Is it because you don't come from this community that you don't want to see it? Right? And if that is the case, then we need to create our own hub of networks and companies that we become the investors, right? And that can only come from education. And whether you decide to go to school or not go to school, we need to position ourselves for the next generation to fund their stories. So that's why a big part of my artistry journey is sacrificing wanting to just stick to being an actress and the art of it and really becoming a business owner because I really want MiraLA to be a part of history that is able to fund the stories of the next generations to come of women's storytelling. So yeah, I think that if we as women and we as people of color are having this collective experiences of not finding investors and particularly white people willing to invest in our stories, then I think we have to take matters into our own hands versus taking money from the white man's hand.
Ab- I agree with that. I've thought the same thing. Why don't the bigger corporations that are owned by white people, why don't they invest in stories of resilience? And I think that's why, because I feel like when it comes down to marginalized communities, it's one of
Mhm.
those things of they know if the story was to get out there, it would inspire everybody. And people to change. They just want people to stay the same and they want us all to stay locked up so they don't invest. But as you said, it does take courage of us within our own communities getting out there and making space for ourselves. Now, let's talk about the resistance you've experienced in the film industry and
Mhm.
how have you learned to navigate it without shrinking yourself?
So I think a big part of being a woman working primarily in male dominated spaces is feeling like we shouldn't talk about the fact that I am the only woman in this group right now, in this office right now, looking around on set and maybe seeing one or two other women. The ratio is just insane, right? And there are times where I am the only girl PA, I am the only Latina, and I'm the only woman. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. In 2020,
Wow.
so MíraLA is so important for so many reasons because it's not that I don't wanna work with men. I just want to have productions that are women ran, women owned, and we are focusing on women's storytelling. I wanna work with a particular man, right? We're seeing the dismantling of patriarchy happen right in front of our eyes. We've seen where male leaders have gotten us at this point in history. And at this point, we can all collectively say that allowing women to step into leadership roles feels like the thing that we should do. And we should start doing more. And it starts with media. The
Mm.
only way people are going to wake up consciously is when they see women in roles that they weren't programmed to see generations ago, right? So it starts with our stories and creating that awareness on people's iPhones and their TVs that women are leading and it's normal to see women in these certain roles.
If you don't agree with what Miss Arianna said about having more women in leadership positions, then you might just want to check your news. And I'm gonna leave it at that. How do you protect your vision when outside voices try to dilute it?
It happens constantly. It happens with collaborators, most recently, people that I trust, people that I've been open to about my vision. But even though I go through hard times and challenges just like every other person. I allow myself to self-reflect on the experience, take a step back. That's why I'm out here in New York after the festival. I made it a point to plan, to schedule a trip to be here with my girlfriend, to allow myself filling up my cup, right? And reflecting on all the hard things that I do because I also deserve that rest and that rejuvenation. And I think being a founder, a collective experience is that we constantly feel burnout. We constantly feel like we're not doing enough because our vision is so big. There's so much to do, but the only way that we can productively make these changes is by changing ourselves and changing how we operate because a lot of the structure of work is again through the male perspective of how men have worked for decades and generations. But the new woman work, I believe, is a lot softer. It's a lot more understanding that we work and we rest. Literally in our cycle, we have a week that we should be resting and we don't, right? So imagine a world where more women and more people allowed themselves that rest. That already brings down your anxiety. That already brings down whatever depression you're suffering. So I think that I want to change the way film sets are also how they're ran. Typically, a film set is 12 hours. I believe that and it's 14 or more, right? Depending. And I think that the norm for women-led sets should be 10 hours. The max would be the 12 because I understand by me advocating for women and hiring more women, potentially I will be hiring mothers. And I'm not about to start a company, hire women, and not allow them that flexibility and also that fight for that you can be home guaranteed no more than 12 hours, you know? So I have really big visions for my mission and I just again want to inspire anyone listening to this to know that we all have purpose. And on the days that you feel like you're not doing enough, maybe you're not supposed to do enough today. Maybe today you're just supposed to rest and that's okay.
And I love that key point that you made. When you're an entrepreneur, we have that passion. We want to get it out there. And when you're an advocate, that adds on to being an entrepreneur because now you're carrying your passion plus carrying a whole community behind you. So it does expose you to higher burnout than others. Let's talk about that for a minute. What keeps you grounded when the work feels heavy?
I bought yesterday some Palo Santo, the smudging. I think that's how I connect to my ancestors. I really love smudging spaces that I'm in. I love being able to smell that holy wood, and to smell like I am connected to the trees. I am connected to this earth. And I try to meditate. I'm really bad at it. But I do try to just focus on breathing. I think we can be like constantly overstimulated, constantly over just there's a lot happening right now. And I think finding ways to just chill, even having a meal without being on your phone, I feel is just little things, right? And writing. I love to journal. I love to just at least write 3 pages of just, I don't even know what I ate today, what I'm going to do. I don't know, just actually taking a second to allow myself to just be present is a big part of staying grounded. It's like, how can I be more present right now?
And I agree with that, especially the smell of nature. I love freshly cut grass, the smell of fresh cut grass. I actually love how nature smells after rain. It calms me.
Mhm, mhm.
And it comes down to regulating your nervous system and bringing yourself back to calmness. Nature is definitely one of those things, whether if you like rain or if you like sunshine, nature is definitely a healing mechanism that I think everybody right now.
Yeah, especially during these chaotic war times.
Absolutely. And it's free, y'all. Cost you
Mhm.
nothing to go outside in your backyard, your front yard, your job, wherever you are right now. You can go outside for free and not do anything. Now,
Yep.
let's talk about lessons. What
Mhm.
have you learned about leadership from running a nonprofit versus producing independent projects?
I've learned that I had to be a leader who pivots. In both of those leadership roles, things are constantly changing. Changing on behalf of other people, changing on behalf of myself, and just allowing myself a second to be like, "Okay, this is really unfortunate. This is not how I saw this happening, but what I can control is how I react to this negative, challenging issue at hand right now." And I think that is really what makes me and so many other great producers is being able to handle their shit.
Uh,
Just I think the best leaders are the ones that are challenged the most and still have grace and humility and are able to communicate with a smile and just be that safe space for your employees, your team, that they have a leader that isn't going to trigger any of their childhood wounds, right? Just being able to just understand that, no, I'm not perfect and I will have my moments because I'm human. But at least if you can just have grace for yourself and also know, like, really believe that everything happens for a reason. Rejection is redirection. This situation is happening so future you can share it and be able to help other people, and this challenge is helping you because it's going to teach you X, Y, and Z. So when this happens, that's the bigger picture. That's what you realize when you allow your time to self-reflect and really look at yourself and look at what you've been through and be like, "Oh my god, I really did that. I'm proud of me." Really speaking nicely to yourself, right? I feel like a lot of us, we are really hard on ourselves. And I think that finding ways to be with your inner child and tend to yourself is how you show self-love.
Absolutely. And I agree with that as well because I had to learn how not to be so hard on myself because one thing, if you know me, I'm a hard worker and I will literally work from 8 to 8 the next morning, nonstop. So I literally had to figure out that way to separate business from my own personal identity and start to understand that some things may not be working out the way that I want them to. And it's not because I'm pushing more towards it. It's just because it's not supposed to work out. So instead of working from 8 to 8, it was one of those things of where I had to just learn to work my regular schedule, and it didn't work out. It just didn't work out, and I ended up finding out that's how I got here to about her business by learning to accept those rejections and just trusting. So Ariana is giving y'all the tips, y'all. I hope y'all are catching every single last one of them. We're getting closer to the end of today's episode. And I want to ask you, how do you balance ambition and identity, especially when you're representing your culture publicly?
Yeah, it's one of those things being Mexican American, which I can speak on because being first gen, I have this identity crisis where there are times where I feel very privileged for my life, but I also, in a lot of ways, feel more connected to the Mexican culture at times than I do the American culture because, and I think a lot of people of color experience this where they don't feel as connected to American culture as we've been programmed again to see where it feels like this Western cowboy culture where In a lot of ways, yes, in Mexican culture, like ranchero, like lifestyle, like that feels very vaqueros, like that feels very true. But because I don't really see a lot of brown Americans making that connection, I just I love to say that I'm Mexican American. That's who I am. I'm always gonna talk about my Mexican culture before I talk about the American culture. So, yeah, it's one of those interesting things too where I also am not a bilingual Spanish speaker. I speak some Spanish. So starting a whole company with a Spanish word also is this challenge to my personal self that I really want to put myself more in Spanish spaces to challenge practicing that language that I have so much love and that is so beautiful. But I do live here in America. I live in LA and predominantly, a lot of Latinos that grew up also raised by parents that didn't want to teach them Spanish too. Like that's like another like collective traumatic experience in a weird way that I feel like a lot of Mexican American kids feel disconnected from their Mexican culture. So yeah, man, being Mexican American is so tough. I just try to advocate for the fact that I'm so blessed for the sacrifices of my family. And at the same time, I want to represent Mexican Latinas in the best way possible.
And I'm happy I asked that question, and I'm happy Ariana answered it the way I knew she would because she's right. When we look at TV, even right now, how many Mexican stores are out there? How many Mexican Americans are running states, running countries, holding political position right now? How many hold high titles and Oscars and Grammys and those big accolades in the entertainment industry? Can you name 'em? Exactly. So
Mhm.
again, Ariana, she's hitting on all those points. And thank you again for just having the courage to represent your community because you're right. Now, we do hear a lot about the Latino community, but when it comes down to the Mexican community, we really try to, in some ways in America, put them together. It's the same thing. And that, y'all, we have to learn to respect cultures. We really do. And every culture is beautiful in their own way. Every culture practices things in their own way. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's culture. And I think you hit on another great point. In America, we pretend like we embrace all cultures. But when we actually out there being unapologetically ourselves, it's like we get that rejection and backlash for being unapologetically ourselves. So it's like we're
Mhm.
in America.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a struggle, and I hope that MiraLA can be one of those production companies to really change how we see women, how we see culture, how we see American culture for that matter, so
Absolutely. Now, for my women listeners who are out there who may want to create a space in a male dominated industry, what is the first bold move you would encourage her to make?
have the audacity of a white man. That that is just the key to anything that you want to break barriers is just thinking like a white man would of just, "That should be mine. I should have that. I should say this, and I don't care because I'm a white man."
I love that. Have the audacity of a dog. That needs to become a trend, a hashtag. Hashtag have the audacity like a white man down in the comments button. Now, sadly, our time with Miss Ariana has ran out, and we always leave with a legacy. So I give you a couple of moments to think about this. Look back at your work, and we're going to definitely look back at it. How would you like them to remember it?
I would like the audience to remember my work as a a mirror that we are all connected, and the stories that come through my network is coming through a place of love. And if you can open yourself up to my body of work and allow love in, I really think that lives will change.
Absolutely. And I love that legacy. Any last words before we adjourn today's meeting, Ariana?
I just want to remind everyone that the inspiration and motivation that you felt and that you heard from today's podcast, really take what resonates and take what doesn't. But what really resonates with you, take inspired action. I think the best thing you can do for yourself is hear something positive and uplifting and joyful and rooted in love and truth, and then go do something. It could be as simple as buying somebody a coffee at the coffee shop, giving back, or receiving something for yourself. I think any way that you can just take inspired action and help yourself, first and foremost, of course, and help the people around you, I think that's how we change the world.
Y'all, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thanks again to Arianna Lelas and MiraLA LLC for coming on and offering all her insights. And you be sure to subscribe to About Her Business wherever you receive your podcast so you never miss whenever we upload. Also, leave me some comments down in the comment section or which industry you think I should interview next. Until next time, keep your goals tight, those circles tighter, and those bank accounts growing.